I remember when I first started to take my life sincerely, which was about 5 years ago, and there was all of this commotion that started to really try to stop me from pursuing true growth. And when I started to realize, like, okay, now that I'm spiritually awakened to the reality of the situation of what I'm living in and how I'm living, I need to actually do something about this. I need to actually start to create something. It's like my soul was just calling me to really just put forth some kind of effort to really do something. And it was just as if no matter what I did, no matter what I did, like all of these chapters that were ending, it was like, and I wasn't even where I wanted to be. I'm still not really where I want to be. But all these chapters that were ending, all these people that really displayed themselves to be haters and displayed themselves to be people that actually, didn't want to see me succeed. They would only ask me questions about certain things to try to gauge, what kind of plan or strategy I have so that they can try to tear it down or destroy it. It's like, never tell your plans to people that you even think might have some kind of semblance of ill treatment towards you or not wanting to see you succeed, etc. Never tell your plans to anybody like that, because it's a rough go, man. It's a rough go to see just the lengths that some people are going to make sure that you stay in the trenches. But you know what's crazy is I don't mind being in the trenches, because the thing is at the end of the day, I'm going to be pursuing what I want to do, or I'm going to be dying in the process, or I'm going to die trying in the process. Because at least at that point, I'm striving to do something that I actually want to live my life doing. And I'm choosing to live life on my own terms. And if I fail, or if I don't do exactly what I set out to do, then that's on me. Because I've done everything that I possibly can to do what I needed to do with this life that I've been given, this time that I've been given by God. Sometimes in life, it's like there are so many chapters that we're going to go through where it seems like it's the end. I remember when I first started to take my life seriously, it felt like it was the end. Like it felt like wow, this is like the end of an era. But it's also the beginning of a comeback. That's really what I want to encourage you all to think about as a chapter closes in your life, whatever the case may be. If there's a chapter that's closing in your life, you have to trust that there's actually just the beginning of your comeback coming back. I mean, you are ensuring that you're doing something with your life that, yeah, you know what, whatever happened in the previous chapter, one bad chapter, let's say this, one bad chapter doesn't mean that the story is over. One bad chapter doesn't mean that your story is complete. One bad chapter, maybe it's at the end of that book, right? But maybe your life has a trilogy or something, right? Like, who knows? Because there can be things where, like, one of the most significant moments in cinematic history that I saw was in Avengers, where Thanos actually won. Like, the bad guy legitimately won, right? Now, of course, there was a part two, but you had to like watch the Avengers fail, and half of them die, right? It just before your eyes. You had to watch that happen, and then you had to watch how the characters, tried to deal with that kind of a thing. And even though it's a superhero movie, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just a superhero movie." It's like, well, yeah, it is, but like that also really goes to show just the kind of characters, like even heroes can lose. Okay, even heroes can lose, but the heroes never give up. And that's what in part two of that Thanos fight movie, the heroes just don't give up. Okay, they refuse to give up. And I think that that's where so many people are just lacking nowadays. So many people, they don't really have drive. They don't really have ambition. And sometimes your true drive, your ambition is going to scare people. It's going to intimidate people. But that doesn't mean that you don't have anything to drive forward with. And that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be ambitious. Okay? Because the thing is again, if you're doing the things that you actually want to be doing, then there's no problem. There's no issue. Because you're putting forth the effort to create something that you want to create. And if people misunderstand that, well then their miscomprehension and their misunderstanding, it doesn't mean that you're going to be seen by God differently. Okay, because God knows your heart. God knows who you really are. God knows what you're actually striving to do. And yeah, you know what? You're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. And Lord knows that I've had my fair share of losses where, you know that song, My Way by Frank Sinatra? It's like, and I did it my way. Yeah, that song where at one point it's like, I've lived, I've laughed and cried, I've had my share of losing. And then at one point he says, when I fell flat on my face, I just picked myself up and get back in the race. Oh no, that's a different song. That's Life. That's the song. That's Life. But anyway, I mean, both of those songs really work for the situation. But the point is like, that's life sometimes. Sometimes if you fall flat on your face, you just have to pick yourself up and get back in the race, man. And then other times, if you've done things, especially as a man, if you're striving to be a sovereign man, that because God is sovereign, there's nobody more sovereign than God himself, right? And maybe that's why we don't really maybe that's why we don't understand and see God as a very mysterious being sometimes, is because he is sovereign. Like, he's absolutely sovereign. So there's this point in which we have to kind of come to terms with the reality of ourselves and acknowledge that we just don't know what we don't know. But that doesn't mean that we can't strive to pursue what we do know that we can change. Because have you ever thought about this? Like, you know what's crazy? One thing that I've learned with YouTube is, and specifically social media in general, one post, one video, it doesn't even have to be that long. It could be a 5-minute video, 10-minute video, whatever it is. It could be just a post. One post can literally change the course of your life. Seriously. Just a little bit more effort. When one point in time in which you just put in a little bit more effort can change the entire directory of your life. And that's a powerful thing to think about. And it's something to not even ponder, but to just push through and act through when you must, when you need to, because this is what life is really about. This is what life is really about. It's that perseverance, that drive to stay confident in no matter what kind of situation you're in. You might be going through hell. You might not even see the light at the end of the tunnel right now. But guess what you do see? You see within. You see God. You see God's radiance. You see what you can be grateful for all around you right now. What you do have all around you. All this stuff that is around us, that's inside of us. You know, we don't become who we become based off of the cards that were dealt, right? We become who we become based on what we do with those cards that were dealt. And if you play those cards a certain way, then no matter what happens, you might have the worst hand possible. But if you play the cards in the way that God wants you to, or God says, like, deems worthy, then there's nothing at all for you to be ashamed of or afraid of. Like, there might just be things that you don't know. And this is something that I've had to come to terms with myself, because even me, like, I've made some great errors in the last few years. And but that's every story, you know, every story where there's true adventure, where there's true change, where there's truth and justice and mercy and God himself. The ups and downs are going to be there, man. Like the ups and downs are going to always be a part of this life. And it's about embracing those terrifying moments, or those terrible moments, or those heartbreaking moments, or those sad moments, just as much as the joyful times. Because if you can't embrace the sadness, you don't really know how to embrace the actual joy, the heavenliness of life. You don't know how to actually embrace it. And that's going to become at a detriment to you and your overall fulfillment. And so whenever there's a chapter in your life that maybe wasn't the best chapter, like for me, I still love my life. I still love what I'm doing, but it was a pretty rough chapter. It was a pretty rough go for the past, I would say since April, honestly. Things have been really progressing, like, in of itself, but this season that it was in, that I was in, this season, it was, it had more hardships and more things, and I don't talk about it. You know, I don't talk about all the details, because I know, like, I'm in here, the trenches with you guys. I'm the godlike savage that's in the trenches there with you guys. Okay? I'm trying to lead the charge by just pushing forward no matter what. But at the same time, I have to understand my own limitations. I have to understand that I can't always push the way that I want to push. I can't always be the way that I always want to be, because it's just sometimes we don't have, like, even though, how do I say this appropriately? It's like sometimes what I've noticed with people that I can also see in myself is that their ability to carry heavy burdens without other people truly knowing the depths of those burdens, it can sometimes be astonishing and amazing to when you actually hear what's been going on. When you actually hear what's been going on behind the scenes of a person's life, and you talk to this person and you see, because they're, you know, they carry their pain well, you know, and that's something that I think is admirable, and also something to revere in other people, is their ability to carry the pain. But they're not like shoving it down, they're not repressing it. They're just acknowledging that the only thing to do is to continue to try to change. The only thing to do is to continue to try to build something, to create something. Again, that one bad chapter, it doesn't define who you are. Your past doesn't define you. And it doesn't matter if you were hyper promiscuous, or you made terrible financial decisions, or maybe you destroyed one of your relationships, you self-sabotaged your relationships, or maybe you quit a job that maybe was actually good for you, or you passed up opportunities that in hindsight they were probably your best opportunities, whether it's with your career or with relationships between the opposite gender, whatever it is. Maybe you said certain things that now you know you can't take back. You can either live with regret, or you can accept that that was just a bad chapter. Because life is going to go on, man. Life is going to go on. Whether you want it to or not, life is going to go on. And when you truly realize that your broken heart or your anxious mind, it's not going to slow down or stop the world from moving. And even if you die today, God forbid, if you die today, the world will carry on just fine. and the world is going to continue going. There's some kind of peace in that, because you know that yes, your life is meaningful for you, and it's meaningful for the people that are actually, caring for you and wanting to see you succeed in life, for those around you. But at the end of the day, like, you're just another person. And it's not to say that that makes you not unique, or that doesn't make you great, because you're still a part of God's creation, and you're amazing. Like, you are created by God. But still, you let go of the worldliness of everything, and you stay more in tune with the spiritual vessel that you're channeling through your electromagnetic satellite, which is your mind. So take heart, stay courageous, stay bold, and keep the faith, and stay grounded in gratitude. Something that I've been encouraging people to do more and more recently is, at the end of the day, write down all the good things that happened today that stood out to you. Out of everything, like, just write down everything. I actually take down like maybe 20 minutes aside at the end of my day and the end of the day to just journal. Sometimes I go a little bit longer, sometimes I go a little bit less, but I always have at least 20 minutes that I'm gonna try to get there, and I'll carve out time for 20 minutes before bed usually, because that's really when, like, my thought process is starting to become more, I don't know how to describe it exactly, actually, because it's almost time for sleep usually, right? It's almost time for sleep, and my brain kind of knows when it's time to sleep. And I swear, because I think this is, I think you can back this up with science, but I'm not quite sure. It makes sense though that you could be. I just don't have the actual studies for it on my hand. But like, when you go to sleep and when you're waking up, those are like the most optimal times for reorienting your thought algorithms. In my experience, that's the case. That's also the best time to pray, because for me anyway, that's the best time to pray, because it's like, okay, I'm not unconscious, but I'm not quite like fully awake. And so there's that moment in between sleepfulness and wakefulness that I'm able to just be more in tune with my spirit for some reason. Not that I'm not in tune with my spirit right now, for example, when I'm completely conscious. It's just a different kind of mode of being, But anyway, so take some time aside, write down your dreams. Maybe from either I'm speaking about dreams as in like your sleep dreams or your actual dreams every day. Remind yourself of why you're doing this and what you're doing and how you're going to do it. And also just whatever thoughts come to mind. And then write down all the good things that happened that day that you can think of, because that helps you stay focused on the good things. It helps you stay focused on what's actually going right for you. And it's not to say that, because this is like a behavior thing, right? Last night, I actually had a dream with Dave Ramsey. I don't know who knows and who doesn't know about Dave Ramsey, but he's like a financial, I guess you could say, financial consultant. Anyway, he's probably one of the most real people I've seen on YouTube when it comes to financial advice. And I remember like his snowball debt, or his the debt snowball, right? It's basically like, if you have a bunch of different kinds of debt, you start with the littlest kinds of debt and then you work your way up, because it's a behavior thing. And then, people will say, well, like, this is his response to it is like, when people say, oh, well, mathematically it makes more sense to pay off the high interest rate. And then Dave Ramsey says, it's just so funny, because it's like, well, yeah, if we're speaking about mathematics, then we wouldn't have been in this situation now, huh? It's like, yeah, it's true. And, you might just like make some stupid decisions. I've made terrible decisions with debt. One of them being student loans. That's probably the worst form of debt I've ever decided. And, that's on me. Like, I didn't know exactly what I was getting into, but I was just told that this is the way to go. That's just normal. And it's not normal and it's not good. And I'm not saying that you can't leverage debt to your being, because finances, I'm not a financial guru, by the way, at all, but I'm just saying that, like, it is possible to leverage your debt, when it comes to taxes and all that. But that's for when you actually have the kind of capital and the kind of investments, and that is another thing. But the point is my dream that I had with Dave Ramsey, I was talking to him and I saw one of the people in the Regal Change Academy, who I don't think I'll ever name actually, but I saw one of the people in the Regal Change Academy, and they were like listening to Dave Ramsey talk. And then they looked at me and they were like, well, this makes a lot of sense, but how can I apply that to spirituality? And I said, well, you do the same kind of thing, but with your character. And then when I woke up, I realized, I was like, oh my gosh, you could apply the snowball debt with or the debt snowball with Dave Ramsey. You can apply that kind of same method with reorienting your thought algorithms and with your character and your integrity. You can actually start with the little things in your life. Okay, think about the character wise. Now, I already do this, like within the Real Change Godlike Mastery Initiation program that I do, but I just name it differently. And I have a little bit of a different process that maybe I'll refine a little bit after this dream. But the process for the Godlike Mastery Initiation is, okay, like, where are you at currently? What kind of rituals do you need to incorporate into your life to get to the kind of person you need to, you want to be, or you're visualizing to be? And then what kind of trials are you going to have to go through to get to that point? I might make a video just full on about that, because that's going to be really important, because that's a good process for anybody to know and have. But yeah, you can apply that similarly, just different language and semantics, with the debt snowball. It's just for your own personal character instead of your finances. Start with the little things and then work up to the big things. Because if you can start with the little things, you'll start to see enough progress within your behavior that, oh, now you can get to this big thing. It's not so terrible. But if you try to start with the big thing, man, good luck. Good luck. But anyways, guys, that's the video for today. I hope everybody has a blessed rest of your day. Peace be with you all. Until next time.